On February 21, 1977, a horrific murder sent shockwaves through the city of Chicago. The victim, Teresita Basa, a respiratory therapist, was discovered dead in her apartment. She was found with a butcher knife cruelly buried in her chest. The police started scratching their head because they didn't find any clue to start the investigation. There was only one clue, and that is that the jewelry of the deceased was missing. The police desperately tried to find the missing jewelries, but all their efforts failed, and they were unable to establish any connections between the suspects and the crime. It appeared to be an unsolvable case until an unexpected source of information came to light. Teresita Basa came to the United States from the Philippines with dreams of making music her path in life. However, she eventually transitioned into a career as a respiratory therapist in Edgewater Hospital. She was super talented. She was balancing her job and her passion for music at the same time. Even she also contributed to the neighborhood. She often taught the kids in the neighborhood how to play the piano. On February 21, 1977, things took a dark turn for Teresita. She was doing her usual hospital visit and got back around 5:30 p.m. But about 3 hours later, the air got thick with the eerie smell of smoke, and nobody knew where it was coming from. The firefighters were alerted by residents of the neighborhood, and upon arriving at the scene, they found Teresita's apartment was burning in flames. After successfully extinguishing the fire, they made the grim discovery of Teresita's lifeless body. It became evident that the fire had been deliberately set in an attempt to conceal the true circumstances surrounding her demise. Teresita's lifeless body was discovered beneath a mattress, stripped of all clothing, and marked by numerous stab wounds, including a knife lodged in her chest. Teresita, who was generally a quiet person, didn't have many people who were against her. Her only companion at the time was Ruth Loeb, a close friend. It looked like Teresita was expecting someone, but it was not clear who that someone was. But here's the twist. They found a message hinting that someone was getting theater tickets for a guy named A.S. Despite their diligent efforts to crack the case, investigators found themselves at a dead end. The identity of the person responsible for wanting to harm the innocent woman remained a mystery, and by 1977, the entire investigation had grown cold. Nonetheless, by August, Joseph Stakula had been tasked with the case and received fresh details. He was apprised of an individual named Alan Showery, residing in the outskirts of Evanston and employed at Edgewater Hospital. Surprisingly, the individual shared identical initials with the letter found in Basa's apartment and was employed at the very hospital. The way information was passed along had a surprising twist. Dr. Jose Chua was the one who told Joseph about it. Now, let's talk about Remy Chua, who works at the same hospital as Basa but doesn't know the victim very well. One day, Chua had a strange dream where she saw the person who caused Basa's death. At first, she didn't think much of it, but then some really strange things started happening. One day, something really strange happened to Chua while she was filming her true crime video. She started speaking in a weird voice that wasn't hers. She claimed that this voice belonged to a woman who had been killed. Through Chua, this mysterious voice revealed detailed information about the murder that only the person who did it would know. Chua had no idea what was happening, and she couldn't control what she was saying or doing. It was like she was caught in a real-life crime story. Okay, folks, picture this. Chua's behavior suddenly takes a wild turn, and everyone around her gets pretty worried. Some people thought she was either possessed or dealing with some serious mental stuff. So, they take her to a shrink, a head doctor. But even the brain expert couldn't quite figure out what was going on with her. She kept on talking like she's the dead lady, and dropped some hints about who the killer might be. At first, people around Chua didn't really believe what she was saying. They had doubts about her claims, but as she kept talking about the crime and giving more details, their doubts started to fade away. They began to think that she might actually be onto something. They encouraged her to keep sharing what she knew, hoping that it could help catch the person responsible for the crime. In the middle of their chat, Chua, acting like Basa, unexpectedly mentioned a guy named Alan Showery. Back then, nobody thought much of it, but later on, it turned out to be super important. Chua kept on pretending to be the victim and shared more info about Showery. The cops got a tip about what was going down, and decided to look into Alan Showery. While they were doing their detective work, they found out that Showery used to work as a security guard at the same hospital where Basa and Chua worked. He got fired from his job just a few days before the murder. So he had a very solid motive, and the detectives had their first solid clue. Little did Remy know how she became a messenger for the victim from beyond the grave. The information she shared with the police helped them catch Showery. Joseph Stachula found Alan and asked him why he went to Teresita's place. At first, Alan said he wasn't there, but later he changed his story and said he went there to fix her TV. The detectives noticed something fishy because people usually slip up when they lie. This situation looked a lot like what Dr. Chua talked about, and when he was asked about the missing jewelry, Alan said it was a Christmas present from her. But he wasn't telling the truth, and there was more and more proof suggesting that he was part of the murder. The cops took Showery to custody, asking him if he knew anything about the murder. At first, he said he had nothing to do with it. But when they brought up Chua's name, he got all shaken up and confessed that he was involved in the crime. Alan said in his statement that he went into Teresita's apartment to steal some stuff, but things got really bad. He ended up killing her by stabbing her, which was not the plan. Then, he did some tricky stuff to make it look like a different crime. He took off her clothes to make it seem like a sexual attack, and he set the whole apartment on fire. He said he was guilty in court and got a 14-year prison punishment, but he got out after only 4 years, which was surprising. The Teresita Basa mystery is a real-life crime story that mixes the ordinary with the paranormal. It's about a terrible crime, a disputed confession, and a strange possession that's hard to understand. This case leaves us with more questions than answers. What do you think? Was Remy Chua genuinely possessed, or was it all a hoax? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos.